Another edition of Dino's Deep Dank Dark Web. We're getting ready for the summer movies. I am here with Herb Stratford, movie critic extraordinaire.
Oh, thank you.
Yes. When you have to say that with your pinky up.
That's right. That's right. Absolutely.
And is there an accent on the air? Or
I don't think so.
no? I'm not really good with my French.
No, actually my grandfather was Herb as well, and we called him Hébert. So that was the French pronunciation of Herbert. So,
okay.
But anyway. Yeah.
Well, thank you for that genealogical history of the Stratford family.
Sure.
Appreciate that. I'm sure everyone's really interested. But we've got some breaking news before we get into the summer movies.
Yes.
Just dropped yesterday, late in the day. Robert Pattinson has been named the new Batman.
Yes, replacing Ben Affleck, who dropped out after some sort of a horrible back tattoo accident, I believe is what happened.
Too many lat pulls.
Yes, yeah. So he's out, and there's already controversy. Already people circulating petitions. Outrageous! How dare you? So,
sons of bitches.
Yeah. I don't. Every time there's a casting for Batman, there's controversy.
Right.
I mean, you remember Michael Keaton?
Oh,
it was just the end of the world when that was happening. So I don't know. I mean, we seem to be a little bit petition crazy. Of course, season 8. I know we can't talk about details, but
yes.
Game of Thrones, people petitioning and want to do over on season 8. So everybody's just, where's the petition? I'll sign it. I mean, whatever it is. Mm-hmm. So I think it's ludicrous. I think, and I may be in the minority here, but I've watched Pattinson and I've watched Kristen Stewart, and the Twilight movies are not what those kids are about.
Right.
Kids. I mean, they're, whatever.
They're
youngins. But I mean, they've done great work outside of that franchise. It's not their fault that they've been pigeonholed. And I think that he's an edgy guy, and I think he can pull it off.
Well, yeah, I mean, I guess we'll kind of see. But I mean, if you look at the dude, I mean, look at him right there. I mean, he's kind of emo. I mean, is Batman?
Sure.
Batman, is he really that emo guy?
Well, it depends on which Batman we're going for. If we're going to younger Batman, which I think he would have to be, right?
Yeah.
He could be kind of emo because his parents have been murdered by a bad guy and whatever.
Right.
And he's kind of moping around. If you're talking about old, tired Batman, no, he couldn't play it.
Right.
So that's what's interesting about this, I think, is, this was kind of bouncing around Matt Reeves' new Batman movie. What time period is it going to be? And it all came down to casting.
I think you're right. So, I mean, obviously, if they go with him, too, then they can also kind of do a more... a larger arc, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, if he's going to be the other thing that people have to remember here is when somebody signs a talent deal in Hollywood for something like this, think about Hugh Jackman and the X-Men movies, or think about Chris Evans, Captain America, or Robert Downey Jr. for Iron Man. These guys, they're not signing for one movie.
Right.
That is not happening. They're signing for 3, 4, 5, 6. Who knows what they're signing for? Especially somebody in the DC universe. Forget about it. I mean, you have to just accept it.
Actually, if you're in the DC universe, you got like maybe 2 or 3 movies, and then you're out because
That's true.
Because everybody gives up after that point.
That's true. All
right. So speaking of summer movies, obviously we've already dived deep into Avengers. I didn't get a chance to talk to you about that, but just really briefly, what was your...
Loved it. A little tear rolled down my eye at one point. I thought it stuck the landing. I thought it was perfect. I just can't wait to see what's coming next. Those guys are amazing.
Yeah, and then we'll talk a little bit about what is coming next, because there is another Marvel movie this summer. The next big movie, both of us saw it just the other day, a little advanced screening action with John Wick 3 Parabellum.
Yes, and of course, a lot of people don't know Parabellum means prepare for war, and so that should give you a little tip-off. I love these films, and I think, honestly, Rotten Tomatoes has got it at about 95%. I think they're right. When have you seen a third film in a franchise get to 95% on Rotten Tomatoes?
Yeah.
That's staggering.
Yeah.
I think they stuck the landing.
Not Godfather 3.
No, that's true. That's true. It is not The Godfather 3. No, again, I think they stuck it. I think that Chad Stahelski, I can never pronounce the guy's last name, the director, former stunt double for Keanu, I think he has an insane ability to understand what action fans want to see.
Right.
And I think that's because he's been such a part of this world. And I mean, if you're not a fan of headshots, stay away, because there's a lot of them.
So yeah, I liked it as well. It is very video gamey. I thought yes. I mean, it's kind of like you completing levels. I mean, you're just going and there's just more guys coming, and then finally you get through it. But yeah, like after like the first 10, 15 minutes, like you were cringing at every headshot, like, ooh, and then all of a sudden
Yeah.
you're just like, yeah, that's another headshot. We're good.
No, you're right, because in the audience, I noticed that, like, everybody, in the very beginning of the film, there was definitely an audible response for certain dramatic scenes, and then it just kind of, everyone's just like, okay, I just bought into this.
Yeah,
and,
if I have to clap or applaud for another, my hands are starting to hurt.
Yeah, I'm going to get sore. But I mean, honestly, you know, I leaned over to you, I think, at one point, and I said, this gets the award for best creative use of an animal in an action film. I mean,
right.
between the horse and the dogs,
yeah.
I mean, it was, that's territory I've never seen covered. So.
Right. And it's not the same dog that got killed in the first one.
No, spoiler alert.
Yeah.
No, these are new dogs. And I just read something, Halle Berry had something in the trades the other day, and she said how they had this fleet of dogs, and certain dogs were better than other dogs at different scenes in terms of getting out of the car, getting into the car, chasing people, attacking people in the groin. Oh, look, there's a cat, and they just wander off. So,
right.
You know, so it was definitely, these are a skilled group of animals. So,
right. So
yeah.
best animal in a Keanu Reeves film goes to?
Yeah, I think we need to like start a new set of categories here, and maybe at the end of the year we'll revisit some of these.
Okay,
so
let's
I'm
do that.
I'm going to make a note.
Okay, mental note. All right, and so we talked a little bit about Avengers there. We're going to now move into the stuff that's coming out this summer. Disney owns Marvel, so they're having Spider-Man come out a little later, but Disney's also got the big tent poles of the summer are all Disney/Marvel.
Yeah, it's a little terrifying actually when one studio controls so much product, and yeah, you're going to see that, especially with Aladdin coming out here on the 24th of next weekend of May. That's going to be huge. You know, you get the Lion King coming up later this year.
It's in July.
Yeah. So I mean, that's just, you know, it's just going to be kind of like almost monthly or every 6 weeks, there's something coming out from a Disney-controlled property. And then, of course, come fall in October when Disney Plus launches the streaming service, you're going to have the two new Avengers series, you know, the spinoffs, and you're going to have some Star Wars stuff, The Mandalorian, super excited about that.
Right.
So Disney is really gonna own the summer, and it'll be very interesting to see what happens. It's not great for film, for smaller films. It's going to all be tentpole, giant budget films.
Well, since they are going to control so much and they're going to be making so much money, does that mean like maybe like they have like their, you know, smaller indie, you know, kind of fashion label kind of thing where they'd be able to, you know, do those kind of films and give them maybe a little bit more marketing and a little bit more play to the general audience? It's
hard to say. You know, they maintained the Fox Searchlight label, which is the one that Guillermo del Toro has been releasing things on. And so there are going to be some of that stuff, but there's just going to be some very interesting shifts here. And, you know, the big question is what's going to happen with the X-Men and the Fantastic Four going to come into that world? You know, how are we going to do Deadpool 3? Because Disney is not an R-rated action company.
Right.
So, you know, how is that going to happen? So you're right. I think they're going to have to create a little bit of these kind of vanity labels that enable this product to still come out, because they're not a stupid company. They know there's money to be made.
Right.
So that's going to continue to
because
happen.
not everything has to be mass appeal. There's going to be niches, and that's how you grow these cult things like a Deadpool or, you know, something like that along those lines, because those end up being large, you know, revenue makers, but obviously they can't maybe be the, you know, the Avengers of those
I mean, I
of
think there's going to be a little less risk taking, because the thing is everything has been metriced out to figure out what's the audience. We know what the Marvel audience is. We know what the animated Disney audience is, which is why we're doing all these live action films. So I think there's less risk taking on young filmmakers. You're going to see that stuff happening differently. Although I will say, you know, for example, the Game of Thrones director Miguel Sapochnik, he is directing a big budget science fiction movie that's coming out. So he's made the leap back to from TV back to film. So it's just going to be, the whole landscape has to change.
Right.
And
So it's going to be, we're kind of in a flux period right now, and we're going to see where everything, you know, lays out in like 5 years. We'll go look back and go, oh yeah, this is the fallout from that.
That's right.
And so let's talk about then some of these big Disney films. As you said, Aladdin coming out this holiday weekend, which will be Memorial Day. Early reviews, it's not actually bad. I haven't seen it, but
no. And the early reviews are, you know, it's everybody was freaking out about Will Smith, and I think they toned it down a little bit. So, you know,
he's the wrong color. He's the wrong color, blue or purple.
For my money, I'm more interested in The Lion King, to be honest with you. I just think Jon Favreau is a great filmmaker, and I think the footage I've seen from that seems more compelling to me. So I'm more interested in that. I'm also, you know, more interested in seeing how Toy Story 4 sticks it. You know, I mean,
right.
there's so many products that I'm just like, I just am so.
I was
curious.
really surprised they went to the well one more time because I think we were all under the impression that the third one was the last one. I mean, I had the tear rolling down. I actually more waterworks than I really would like to admit because my kids grew up during that time. There was a point in my life where I could quote Toy Story 2 at any point in that film. I could just go.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Oh, absolutely. No, I mean all that stuff with Jesse being abandoned. I mean, it's just it's very well. I actually liked the 2 even more than 3. To be honest with you, I thought it was a more.
2 was the
touching
best
film.
of the 3.
That's what I think. Yeah, and a lot of people love 3, but yeah, I think if there's a buck to be made, they're gonna do it. Which is. You can't
you gotta
blame
applaud
them.
that.
You can't. Well, I mean, there's people. You want the content,
Right.
I mean.
Yeah, and then obviously they need people coming back to the theme parks, and there's the
Absolutely.
ancillary income of all these kind of things.
And that's what a lot of people don't realize. When they think about Disney, Disney is a model where their studio is one component, their theme park is another component. And I mean, honestly, the theme park that's where they print money. I mean,
Right.
with Galaxy's Edge opening on May 31st.
Do not want to go to Disneyland for the next couple of years because it's going to be ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean it's a license to print money. Now they're talking about redoing something for more Avengers activity out there. I mean,
I
it's
heard
just,
that as well. Yeah, they've already redid the Twilight Zone. Thing as a Marvel Guardians of the Galaxy ride.
So there's a lot of money to be made, and honestly this summer is when we get introduced to all this product, which has the ancillary of the T-shirts, of the theme parks, of the video games, or whatever that happens to be. So we're just in this consumer trough right now.
Yeah. All right, so let's go non-Disney. I think the next biggest animated film for parents out there would be The Secret Life of Pets.
Yes, absolutely. That's coming up, and of course the first one was huge. Who doesn't wonder what their animals do at home when they're not there?
Right.
So great voices, very well executed. It's a great studio. They do a good job there, and it's Illumination, I believe, is who does those films, and that's the people who did Despicable Me and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
So.
And then another big action movie, non-Disney, non-Marvel, the Godzilla.
Yes, Godzilla King of Monsters, which is super exciting just because this is that Godzilla universe that we're fleshing out. And so they're throwing all the monsters into this one leading up to, they just actually wrapped Godzilla versus King Kong.
Oh, wow.
So that one is going to be in the pipeline.
So this one better do good.
Too. Yeah, well, it's already filmed. But but I mean, honestly, I don't know how you were, but I mean, as a kid, I saw those Toho classics, and I remember watching how cheesy Gamora was and Ghidra. And I mean, those were like, it was amazing to watch the low level of science fiction and that stuff.
But you bought in.
Oh, yeah, you loved it. And so to see this now is going to be interesting. Is it going to be scary, or is it going to be cooler? Do you long for the black and white versions? So I'm super curious. From everything I've seen, the footage I've seen, it looks remarkable.
Yeah. And just a quick side note, when I was a kid, I used to live in New York, and on Thanksgiving, they used to play King Kong, Godzilla, King Kong versus Godzilla. So they would like the independent channel there would play all those on Thanksgiving, and you would just sit down after your meal and just go through them, and it was just awesing, So yeah, that was my introduction to all that. So another non-Disney action flick, I think it's a Universal one, is Hobbs and Shaw, continuing on with the Fast and Furious franchise, The Rock, and Jason Statham.
Yeah, we're obviously looking to broaden and deepen that giant money trough that they've created from Fast and the Furious, which is a global phenomenon. And I think they paid very close attention to the idea that the ensemble casting of the kind of, let's be honest, there's a lot of different nationalities in that cast, and so it plays very well internationally because people can look and go, oh, I relate to Han, or I relate to whoever
Demos
it is.
People.
Yeah, and that's really exciting, and I think that they're very smart about that, and I think also they've done a good job for what they are. They don't try to be highbrow entertainment. They're just good summer movies, and I mean, yes, in my mind, I will cop to the fact that I have said, look, now they're secret agents. We've kind of jumped the shark on this one, but what? It's so ridiculous. You kind of buy in. You're like, okay, I'm along for the ride.
Yeah, exactly. Let's go crash into something. Let's blow something up. Let's jump from one building to another in a car.
Yeah, and it's just
totally
have your popcorn and have a good time, and then that's what the movies are. They're an escape, and this is very much an escape.
Oh yes, and then we also have to get the requisite. I'm sure he has it in his contract that he has to raise his eyebrow at least.
Yes,
once. I can't do it.
He does. No, it's a skill.
Yes, that's why he's a professional. That's why he makes the big bucks. He's making $20 million a film.
Yeah, he is.
So now Men in Black, another series that has kind of gone by the wayside a little bit, and Will Smith not in this one.
Yeah, it's an interesting model that what they've decided to do was to reboot, but instead of rebooting, they basically are pivoting, is what I like to think of it as.
Yes.
So this is Tessa Thompson and Chris Hemsworth, who are obviously on paper they look fabulous, right? And then they're shifting the focus to London. So they're overseas and they're kind of looking at that. So it's nice for us as an audience to get an idea of, much like Harry Potter moving, over to America in this new series. It's nice for us to get a look at, this is a worldwide phenomenon. So we'll see if this actually has legs. I mean, Tessa Thompson, could not be in a better position. She's in all the great films and she's fabulous. I love her. So it'll be interesting to see how this one goes. I think there's an audience like you and I that spent some time going to those.
Right.
And we'll see if they can continue that magic, because that relationship, I feel, between Will Smith and Tommy Lee Jones was so spot on.
Right.
So I don't know if we're going to have that same chemistry.
Even when the third one came out, even though it was a little tired at that point, you still enjoyed the relationship.
Yeah. So it's all about that chemistry. And so I'm interested to see if with those two young, frankly hot, sexy characters can pull off the same kind of dynamic that is not a, bro kind of common,
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. And then maybe on a smaller note, we've got this coming out very soon, the new Elton John.
Yeah, Rocket Man. So the early buzz, we haven't had a chance to see it yet, but the early buzz is this is the R-rated version of Bohemian Rhapsody we wish they would have made.
We really get into the gay stuff.
Yeah. And I mean, honestly, I don't know how you could not whitewash this. I mean, this is Elton, and Elton's been a very big part of this film. He's still alive. Freddie was not alive, so there was no kind of feedback there. I mean, Brian May was carrying the candle for Freddie, and
But they definitely have the Queen... the brand to think about.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, because that is something that is, and Elton probably couldn't care less because he's got all the money he needs.
He's just going to be at Caesars next week, just, backing up the Brinks truck.
Yeah, just raking the cash in. So, no, I'm looking forward to this because I think this is a story that I want to see. I mean, I've been a big Elton John fan for a long time, but it just also makes me think, where's my Led Zeppelin biopic?
Right, they're
honestly,
coming though, yeah.
Because that's the show to me that is just all of the, Paige living in Aleister Crowley's castle. It's like all the crazy stories.
Right.
That's the stuff I want to see. That's a hard R.
Right. Or like, I mean, are we getting to the point too? I mean, we kind of touched on it a little bit with the Netflix movie with the Motley Crue, The Dirt. Are we going to get the Ozzy? I mean, that's going to be...
You're right.
A hard R too.
Yeah,
someday.
You're right, Ozzy. And Ozzy probably Sharon's going to protect that legacy, and I have a feeling that won't happen until Ozzy's in the ground. But you're right. That's a story.
I think we might be getting close though on that one.
From everything you see of him, yeah, no, and I agree with you. I mean, I watched The Dirt with a little bit of anticipation, thinking we were going to get more than we did, and it was okay.
It was fine. It wasn't a complete failure, and it wasn't a home run. I think it's kind of, it met your expectations. Like if you saw it, you were like, that's kind of what I thought it would be.
Yeah.
I think that was like my best review of it.
And I mean, honestly, it probably belonged on Netflix. I mean, I don't think it could have had a theatrical release. Yeah. So, it's probably the right place for it.
It wasn't that deep. It wasn't that compelling as far as storytelling and character building.
Yeah.
I mean, it was very broad, and it kind of had to be.
And it's all about just abuse and excess. I mean, that's really what it is. I mean, if you're going to talk about the Rolling Stones, to me, that would be a fascinating story about Mick and Keith and that evolving relationship, right? That's an adult movie.
Right.
Not adult boom chicka,
right.
But you know what I'm saying?
I'm sure there was that a little bit too. There's enough groupie action for the Stones.
But
Sticky
I mean,
fingers.
that relationship, right? I mean, 50 years of collaboration, in rock and roll is pretty remarkable.
Right.
So I want to see that story too, but I have a feeling that's like a documentary. That's like a 6-part series somewhere. That's not a 2-hour thing.
And I thought maybe with the Motley Crue thing, since it was on Netflix, they might have been able to do it as a more of a episodic type situation, because if you read the book, The Dirt, it was very, everybody got the chance to tell their side of the story, and I thought that maybe would have been a way for them to go.
Yeah, and I think maybe the initial idea of that was going to be that, but this thing was stuck in development hell for 20 years.
Yeah,
and that's the thing. It just kept spinning. How are we even going to do this movie? And then now in a Me Too environment, it is a little bit surprising they were able to do this movie. So.
All right, and Detective Pikachu, did you see this?
I'm going to see it actually tomorrow night. I have not been to it yet.
Okay, so no review.
No review yet, but my family plays Pokemon Go, so I'm sure that they're gonna be ecstatic about it. I mean, as a film critic, I've seen all the earlier Pokemon movies, and I've always been kind of like, no one has captured this.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it seems like this is the first time they've actually captured. It sounds silly saying this, but the magic or the whimsy of the whole idea of a Pokemon, which is this kind of odd thing of these creatures living and sharing this world with us. So it's nice that somebody, maybe technology and storytelling wise, has found a way to do that. So
Sure.
I'm looking forward to it.
And let's kind of wrap it up here. Is there anything that we haven't talked about that you're really looking forward to for the summer? That we should be have on our radar.
Well, I mean, obviously, It Chapter 2 coming out in
Oh, yeah.
September. I mean, I'm super stoked about that one. That's going to be remarkable. That trailer just blew my mind. But probably the biggest thing for me is going to be Scorsese's movie, The Irishman.
Oh, okay.
Which, of course, is on Netflix. It'll probably end up having a limited theatrical run in advance of that drop. But that is, of course, the story of what happened to Jimmy Hoffa. It's got Joe Pesci. It's got Al Pacino. It's got De Niro in it. I mean, it's
basically Casino cast in the Jimmy Hoffa star.
And you're never gonna. This is probably the last time you're gonna see Scorsese do a mob movie, and you're never gonna have a better cast than these guys.
Sure.
So the expectations are like probably what Godfather 3 was. Let's hope we don't have a repeat there.
Yeah.
So
one other one I wanted to mention: Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Oh yes, the Tarantino movie with Brad Pitt and Leonardo DiCaprio. Yes, and that actually is premiering at Cannes, I think, this weekend. And so the early buzz is everybody just can't wait to see it, but no one's seen it.
Right.
So I think he's walking in with a wet print. I mean, it's going to be so last minute, but the cast is fabulous. I mean, Margot Robbie as Sharon Tate could not be more perfect.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So it's going to be very interesting to see. There's a movie out this weekend at the Loft that has Matt Smith starring as Charles Manson. And so, Manson's hot again.
Yes.
We're all going, he's hot, he's sexy, he's dead. So, and he's crazy. So we'll see what happens with that one, but that should be a big awards contender. You're right.
So it's the summer of Manson.
Yes, it is.
All right, there you go.
What a way to wrap. Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks so much, Herb, for coming down
Absolutely.
and talking movies with us, and we'll check in with you midsummer, see how things are going.
All right. Thanks.
Yep.